Jacob's creations, heart and soul, turning resin into gold, crafting wonders, work of art, a vision born from your own heart.
Hello everyone, I am here today as a request from PLH Crafts. So this person asked me if I could do a tutorial on how to assemble a wind chime piece. I was all too happy to oblige, so that is what I'm going to do today. So I didn't show the actual pouring of my pieces because I thought it was kind of redundant to specifically what I was asked to do. So I decided to do a skull wind chime. So I poured the primary piece. I have some extras arranged on how I'm going to pour them. And then I have my center ball piece. I have a base piece for at the bottom of the chain that goes in the center. And then I have my ring poured. So as far as for making a wind chime, your standard is going to be you need like your primary top piece, whatever that may be. In this instance, I'm using the skull. In my previous videos, I had done one with a sea turtle as the primary, and then I did one with like a hummingbird plaque as the primary piece. Below that, you're going to need some kind of a ring. So whatever size ring you use is going to be dependent on the size of your chimes or whatever other embellishments you want to do. Like I've done in mine, where if I have those extra pieces hanging off in between the tubes, it's better to go with a larger size ring, so that way you have room to hang all that off of it. If you're just doing the tubes themselves, you can definitely get away with doing a smaller ring for like a smaller size wind chime. But I like things to be fancy, so I always do the larger ring. Now, as far as materials you will need, you're definitely going to need some pliers. So I have a few different kinds here, primarily just for how I assemble mine. So I have a pair of wire snips for cutting my chain lengths, a pair of regular pliers, needle nose for just kind of squeezing my jump rings together, and then I use this wide flat one here for my crimping beads. On that note, I have crimping beads that I use along with this bead wire here. So this is kind of like, it's extremely strong. It's not like a thread, but it's not a wire. I think it's made from nylon. It was originally made for sea beads, but it is extremely strong, so I usually use this to attach the ring to hang it with to my primary piece, and then I just kind of thread it through and crimp it off over the ring. Some other tools you're going to need, if you want to use them, some chain, and then of course the jump rings to kind of put all your chain together. You're going to need these little eyelet pieces here that screw in. Definitely going to need a drill of some sort. For this, I'm just using a USB powered one. I do also have an actual Dremel tool. I don't like using it a lot because it's big and bulky, the plug and everything. But for example, some things that you need to drill, the USB powered one isn't strong enough for that. A good example of that was when I did my turtle wind chimes, how I did the seashells at the bottom. This drill was not powerful enough to drill through the seashells, so I had to pull my Dremel tool out to do those. And then obviously you need your tubes for your chimes. Every bit of chimes that I personally have ordered so far has come with strings with it. I'm not going to be using these ones today, but I just want to show these as an example of ones that you can use. I'm making this wind chime specifically for myself, so I am going to be using my fancier wind chimes that I used in my last video. So the chimes I'm using to make these have these tubes, and these each came with this black thread, nylon thread here. So I'll be using that for the chimes themselves as well. So the only big thing you need to think of with your actual chimes is that you want to make sure that you use a material to string the chimes themselves that isn't going to take away from the sound of the tubes. So for instance, the original one that I did with the turtle, I was going to use my chain to attach the tubes to, but I realized that with having the metal jump ring on there, that it took away from the sound of the tube, that, you know, the sound the tube makes. So that's why oftentimes when you see wind chimes, the chimes themselves are held on with like a fishing wire or some kind of a black nylon thread, because the thread doesn't take away from the sound that the tube makes when it gets hit. So, as I had messaged the person that asked me to do this, there are many different ways that you can assemble these overall based on what materials you have to use. So nothing that I show in this tutorial is a 100% finite only way you can assemble wind chimes. This is just how I personally do it. So yeah, I am ready to get started here. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find like the center of my skull here, which I'm going to assume is relatively right here, because that's how I want it to hang. I might do it on a little bit of an angle. I don't know. But that's going to be your first thing here, is figure out how you want your top piece to hang. So like if you want it hanging down like this a little bit, you're going to drill to the center or to however you want this to sit. I kind of think this would look good hanging like this a little bit, so I'll just rest the bottom of his chin down and then kind of figure out where I'm going to drill, and then I'm going to eyeball that. So then I'm just going to drill a little hole. And then same thing on the bottom. I'm just going to find the center. And this one, it doesn't matter what angle you hang it in, because it's going to hang however it's going to hang. So and fair warning, this does get a little messy with all the drilling and everything. So I'm going to go with my gold jump ring or eyelet screws on this. Figure out where I drilled my hole at. And if you're unsure on how well these eyelets are going to sit in here, feel free to, because these are going to be extremely heavy by the time you're done assembling everything. So if you're worried that your eyelet piece isn't going to hold, you can always go in with some UV resin and dab that around there and secure it in place, just for that little extra bit of security there. And then I'm just going to screw this one into the bottom here as well. Okay. So then I'm just going to measure out some thread here. And cut that down. Okay, so I'm going to take one of my little crimping beads here, and I'm just going to thread that on. And then what I do is I come in the opposite way and thread it in there as well. So it kind of looks like that. And then from there, oops. Oh, I suppose I should also probably run this through here, huh? Otherwise it'd be kind of pointless. Okay. So once I have that all measured out, I'll just take my thick pliers, like I said, and crimp this down. And then I just come back in with my scissors and trim off the excess. And then there you go. Okay, so now that I got that set up, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to start working on drilling my holes for my ring. So I like to do about 4 or 5 secure points, just to kind of even out the weight on from the primary to the ring itself. So I'm going to do 5. So I'll probably just do 2, 2, and 1. And I just eyeball all of this. I don't actually measure it. You can if you want. I'm just not that particular, or I don't worry that much about it. Okay. So there is my 5 for the top. And I don't like this shavings building up, so I always come through and kind of wipe it up as I move along. Oh, also, I think I forgot to mention, in addition to whatever drill you have, it's always good to have your drill bits as well. Okay, so for the bottom part of the ring, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 2, 3, 4. So I have 6 tubes, and then I have 4 strands that I want to do off of that. So I need a total of 10 holes drilled in here. So for my 4, I'm going to start and just do top, bottom, and then I'll do left, and right. So from there, I'll go ahead and get my eyelets screwed into these ones, because what I'm going to do from here, so that I don't get my decorative strands mixed up with my strands that I'm going to be using for my tubes, I'll turn these eyelets a different direction so that I know which ones are for which. So I'll do these ones sideways, And then when I do my strands, I'll do them kind of this way so that I know which ones are meant for what. Because I have noticed that myself after I drill and put in all my eyelets on the bottom part of the ring, that I often forget which ones were for what. Okay. So then, like I said, I have 6 tubes, so I'll probably do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 1. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, then I'll do 5, and 6. And those are a little close together. We'll see how it turns out. So this is, at least the way I do it, it is kind of a lengthy process. That's why I, in the past, have opted to not really record the assembly. Another reason is that typically the device I use to hold my camera is actually what I hang my chime from as I'm assembling it. However, for today, I have something else set up, so that won't be an issue. I'm going to move this one over just a little bit. I got room. I don't like the positioning of that. This one was too close to my chime piece, so I'm just going to move it over a smidge. Alright, so there is my base. So then I'm going to go ahead back to the top and go ahead and put in my 5 pieces for that. Okay, so there is my ring all set up. So the next one I'm going to do is drill the holes in the ball piece. So this one didn't turn out quite as I'd hoped. There was a huge air pocket at the top. I wasn't worried about fixing it though, because like I said, this one's just for me. So I'm just going to drill a hole in the top and bottom. And then for my diamond, I'm going to try and get the very center. And then same with my skulls. And if you're more comfortable using like the hand drills for this, those will work too. I do have a couple, but I'm a power tools kind of guy, so Okay, and then these I'm doing at the bottom of my strand, so I'm only going to drill one hole in these. And there we go. Other wipes ran out, so I gotta pull out a new bag. Okay. Let's get those all wiped up and cleaned up. Alright, so then from there, it's time to play with some these eyelet things again, and just get those placed into all of the pieces that I've drilled here. Okay, so that is all I need for the eyelets. I got everything set up to be assembled. Now it's just time to get everything put together. Alright, so I'm going to stick with my gold chain for this one. So before I get to hanging everything, what I'm going to do is measure out my length for my 5 pieces for my primary down. So I'm going to figure out approximately how much I want hanging down, which usually isn't a whole lot. And then I'll just go through and measure out 5 strands of equal length. So just like so. I tried doing this with counting the lengths before, and it did not work out for me. So this is how I do it now. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of them off. And I'm going to take my strand of chain. And I'm going to put that in the center. And then I'm going to put my other 2 back on. So the reason I do that is because I don't know how long I'm going to need this chain to be, but this chain is going to be the one that attaches to the ball for the center strand. So I just put that in the middle and just kind of leave it till I can get everything measured out and figure out where it's going to go. So then from there, I'm just going to attach this to the eyelet on the base. Make sure that's squeezed together good, because I don't want my chains to pop out of the thing here. And then there we have that. So I'm going to attempt to do it this way. I haven't done this yet, but normally I do it while it's hanging and it's a pain in the butt. So I'm going to try and see if I can do this way. Maybe it'll be easier, maybe it'll be harder, who knows. But I'm essentially going to take and put a jump ring on the end of each one of these chains. And if I'm using the wrong terminology in any of this, I apologize. It's been a while since I've done beadwork. Feel free to correct me in the comments. Okay, so then from there, I'm just going to attach it to an eyelet and bend it down and squeeze it together a little bit. So the one thing I will say with doing the chain for putting this together, I like it because I like the look and everything. However, I have noticed that if you don't close these jump rings off just right, that the chain will slide off. So something to be wary of, if you make any of these the way I make them to sell or anything like that, even just as gifts for people, just be aware that that is a thing that you have to look out for. And I forgot to run this through the center, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So then, as you can see from there, we got everything all set up. I can actually probably cut a couple links off this chain. But overall, that is where we're at so far. So give me a quick sec here. I'm going to have to kind of adjust my stuff. I got to move my camera down to my other light here so I can get this hung up so I can continue working on this. So just give me a quick sec. I will be right back. Okay. So, for hanging the tubes, I just took my thread and cut out 6 equal strands, one for each tube. And then so it has little holes here, so you just got to kind of thread your string through the hole. And then what I do is just get it through the eyelet. And then once I have it through, and just make a little knot. And then because I'm using this nylon based cord or whatnot, these scissors are crap. I just cut my extra off. And then I just use a lighter to kind of melt the ends down. Oh, come on. Okay. Okay. So I got her all put together. And I am ready to do the center part. So the first thing that I'm going to do for that is I'm going to use my cutters here, and I'm going to gauge about where I want the ball to sit, which I'm going to say about right here. And I'm just going to snip that. And pull that off. So then, to make this a little bit easier, I'll take my next jump ring and I will attach the rest of my chain to the bottom of the ball first, so that way when I hang this up, I don't have to brief on that anymore, because I've already dropped it enough. Throughout the process of this, I have dropped this wind chime has fallen 4 times, and every time it falls, I have to fix it. Okay, so then I'm gonna grab my chain. Sorry, I'm kind of blocking the angle. So then I'm just gonna string that on and close this jump ring. So then you have the center part. So then the reason that I put the diamond on the bottom of this centerpiece, typically that's the part that like blows in the wind, that moves the ball around, to kind of hit the chimes. So typically for doing that, you want to use something that's going to catch the wind. So something flat or something heavy that'll kind of move it around. However, because I'm doing the other strands of embellishments that are also going, like the skulls and that are going to hit on it and ring it as well. So I'm not necessarily worried about this piece being so small. So I'm going to cut that probably about 3 inches below the bottom of the chimes. I know my camera is focused at the top here, but so I got that. Grab another jump ring. So just spread that open with the pliers. Put it through. And then just put it on the chain. Close the ring. That one needs to be squeezed a little. This one's got a little bit of a gap on it. I don't want that. That is the one tedious thing about the way that I assemble these. Using the chain and the jump rings, it's a very tedious procedure because, well, I shouldn't say procedure, it's a tedious task. Because the jump rings like to, or the chain likes to slide out between the gap and the jump rings. So a little tip on that, I did it on my large jump ring. If you want to prevent something like that from happening, you can use UV resin and just put a little dot on where that gap is to prevent that from happening. So The last part is going to be just putting all 4 of my embellishments on. And I kind of want to do this and string them together and then hang it. So let's see. So for my first one, I'm just going to kind of eyeball this where I want it to be. So I'll eyeball my first one, and then I'll go through and measure out my chain lengths after that, and just get them all made up, and then hang the completed piece on, just because I feel like it'll be easier that way. Okay, so these ones I want to hang just at the bottom of the actual chimes. So I want them to be a little bit above my diamond. So that's how I'm going to measure those out. So then I have my strands of embellishment. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other 4 done up here, and then I will be back when it's time to get them put on and finish this piece. Alright, so I got all 4 of my embellishment strands done. Now the fun part is going to be putting them on. So I am going to stand up for this one, just because it'll get me up closer to my chimes. And I'm going to hold this skull just to kind of keep the weight off, because I don't want that weight on there while I'm trying to pinch these off and close these jump rings. And I apologize if I don't have the best angle on the camera for this. There's not really a whole lot that I can do to get up close. Okay, so there's one. Now, I did do these in kind of a color assortment, so to speak. So there's silver, gold, silver, gold, silver, gold kind of deal. I have 2 of each with that color pattern. it's just going to stay really pinched. Just going to kind of turn that so I can get to my other ones here. And there we go. So that is the fully assembled piece. Alright, so that is how I assemble my wind chimes. Let me pop you off real quick here. So, like I said, I have the jump ring. I connect it with that beading thread. Then I have my eyelet in the top. Then I have my eyelet, jump ring, and my supporting strands to the 5 eyelets on top of my circle. Then I knot in with whatever material the chimes themselves came with into the eyelets on the bottom. And then I use my jump rings and chain for whatever embellishment strands that I have all the way down. There's the centerpiece in there. And then on the very bottom, you have your wind catcher piece, which these also count as that too. So whatever wind there is going to hit these and make those move and sound off your chimes. So there's a close-up look at my skull there and all my little individual ones. So yeah, that is it for this assembly tutorial. I'm going to put the bloopers of the wind chime falling at the end of the video so you guys can get a chuckle. It was very frustrating when it was happening. However, after watching it and my reactions to it falling, it was kind of funny. So I'm going to add that in there as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you like this tutorial, if you find it helpful. Like I said, there are still many other ways and materials that you can use to assemble a wind chime. This is just how I do mine with the materials that I have on hand. So yeah, feel free to like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And let me know if there's anything else that I've done that you guys want to see a tutorial video on. I would be more than happy to do it. Even if it's something I haven't done, you want to see a tutorial video on it, let me know, and I will see if I can help out with that. Again, this tutorial was specifically asked for from PLH Crafts, so I hope you find this helpful. Yeah, that's all for now. I will see you guys back for the next project. In the meantime, stay creative, everyone. Bye.